Hi, good morning, good morning. Welcome to part six, our last session for Selling for Success, the Monday morning sales clinics, and the joy of six. We've done a lot of work over the past several weeks. What we've done is we've looked at knowing yourself, the importance of knowing your niche, while also warming up the sales call, developing your sales action plan. Make sure you have goals and objectives for yourself, for your business. What do you want? Where do you want to go? Without knowing where you want to go, then you're not going to take the proper actions you're going to need. Also, we looked at selling is really just a good conversation. It's about asking good questions. It's about asking open-ended questions. It's about connecting with people to what really matters to them, and just connecting and making sure that you share your value, the value of what you bring to the table. Remember, we talked about value as the sum of the benefits minus cost equals value. So you got to share your value and what you do to help your clients or your prospective clients in terms of the overall, what they get from working with you. We looked at overcoming the fear of cold calling and selling. We have those fears. And it's like, oh, what if I screw up? What if they say no? What if they reject me? Oh, my God. Oh, the horror. We looked at overcoming the fear. We're going to talk about asking good questions. Don't give up. Stay in touch. And relationship is the key. So let's get going, and we'll finish up our six-part series today. We're going to look at negotiating, overcoming objections, and asking for the sale. We've got a lot of ground to cover. So let's look at overcoming objections, rather. Overcoming objectives. Right. I have no objectives. I have no goals. Let's overcome those. Once you presented and you made your sales presentation or your pitch, or you shared the quote or the numbers, or here's how it's going to work, here's what we're going to do. Once you've shared that, what you might get is a little pushback from your clients, and you might encounter what's called an objection. And objections are not a bad thing. Okay, what is an objection? Well, that's what we're going to look at. What are some typical objections that you face? Usually what? It's about money, time. I'm not sure about you. Others in the office. So are objections good or bad? They're actually good. Why? Because your client hasn't left you yet, or your prospect. And they're still engaged. So that's good. Keep them there. But understand what the objection is really about. We sometimes hear an objection and we go, oh no, they want a better price, or oh no, they need to get a second opinion, or bring their wife into the equation, or our spouse, or I need my boss has to sign off on this. So you're going to hear, or I don't have time, or the time's off right now. So you have to understand what an objection is all about. First of all, an objection is a need that your client didn't know they had. So when they say, yeah, I like what you have, but the money's an issue, then that's a need. There's a need, right? A need around money, or time, a need around time, or I need to get a second opinion. Maybe they just need, approval for their buying decision, right? So it's just a need. And so when you realize it's a need, you have to explore the need. Right? So objections are cool. You get typical, so an objection is your customer stating a need they didn't know existed. So a typical objection is like time, money, others. I got to get my wife or my boss, or I have to get the team to approve this if it's a business to business sale, or they don't know you enough. I don't have proof of you. You got to ask them, what do they need? So a little methodology I like is to put your objection hats on. And HAT stands for, hear the objection out, accept it, thank them for stating it. Remember, it's only a need, so you just hear it, accept it, and go, hey, Joe, thank you for sharing that money's an issue. It's an issue for a lot of us these days. tell me, if it wasn't an issue, what would you need? Or what would you need for it not to be an issue? That's the question. What would you need for it not to be an issue? So what you're going to hear is your client solving their own problem. You don't have to solve the problem. You don't have to, as a business owner, know it all, know what to do. And the other thing I have to caution you about is don't be too quick to give your price away or give it away when you hear an objection. Just ask the client to solve their own problem, right? Their own need. And they'll tell you, well, Bob, I need it at this price. And then you've got a decision to make. You can either go, okay, I can do it, or you're going to have to get into a negotiation, right? You're going to have to maybe negotiate a little bit. So just remember that it's just a need that they didn't know existed, and to get them to solve their own problem and tell you what they need. And then you can say, is this a good deal or is this a bad deal? You ask that question of yourself, and then you can move forward. If it's really a bad deal and there's no hope in heck, then you might have to walk away. Or you might have to just give them other options. Say, look, I'd love to do it at that price, but, it's really compromising our bottom line, and I can't. So are you open to another alternative? So you want to always be asking questions just to see what it is the client wants, what they can live with, and what you can also live with. Remember, in any good negotiation, we're going to talk about that next, it's really important not to compromise your bottom line, okay? Not to compromise your integrity of your business, and not to come across as someone who's going to cut prices, as a price cutter, right? So that's how you handle an objection. Put your hats on. You try it out tonight at home with your kids. If they don't like dinner, oh, thank you, right? You little brat. Thank you for pointing that out. And just accept it and say, hey, thanks for pointing that out. What would you like to see tomorrow night instead of tonight? Like, what would you like? And then, get clear on what they want. And then what happens is, especially in a sales situation, if they say it's, money and I need a deal, or I need a discount, then you have to start to get into negotiation. So you don't want to be too quick to give them the price right away. You want to sort of reiterate this, the value of what they're getting, and remind them of the cost of their current reality. So when you negotiate, this is a model called Negotiating from the Left. It's not my model, but it's a model I really like. Because what you're going to do is you're going to ask questions of your client and get them to get clear again on their drivers for change. So your client wants some sort of result, right, from you, or they want a new reality, or they want, pleasure, or they want you to solve their problem. So you have to remind the client of what's driving them, that urge, what was the reason they came to you, right, or are working with you. So you want to remind your client of their desire for change with their current situation. And then also ask them about the implications and cost of failure to respond to that change if they didn't work with you, if they didn't make an action or make a transaction with you. And then, remind them again of the desire and need for improvement. And then remind them of your position. So you want to remind the client of their current reality, the cost of not making a change or making a buying decision, and how, remind them of their desire and need for an improvement in their business, in their life, whatever it is, right? And then reiterate your position. What is the value that they're going to get from working with you? How are you going to, solve their problem? Grow more hair on their head, save them time, save them money, have them, cut back on stress, whatever it is. Remind them of the unique value that you're bringing to the table, and how your product or service is going to, over time, it's going to save them the aggravation and the heartache, right? Or the pain, or whatever it is. And then just say, well, what our goal is to satisfy that, is to make sure we're going to do everything in our power to make sure you get those results. So you want to just, be there for your client. Remind them of where they're at and what they want to achieve. Remind them of your value, what you're going to do that, and that you're going to be there every step of the way. So that they feel comfortable, right? So you want to win. Also in negotiation, you want to always achieve a win-win position. So in order to do that, you've got to sell your own position in the context of what drives your client, right? Why did they come to you? And treat the negotiation of commercial terms as a key element of the sales process. So don't just think of it, I got to negotiate now. You also want to plan when you're doing your sales planning. Plan for negotiation. One of the 6-step sales process we've been talking about. One of the side steps is negotiation, but it's not. You got to think about it. How am I going to handle it? You got to be clear as to what's your bottom line. What can you live with? And make sure, what's the point where you got to walk away, where it's not a good deal. So the negotiating from the left model works from left to right in a 5-stage process. The first 3 stages represented the client's world on the left, while the final 2 stages represent your own position on the right, as follows. So we're going to do this in teams, but I think just for the sake of time, I'm not going to do it in teams. You want to be in your client's world when you negotiate, because that's where you share your empathy. Hey, I understand. I've been there before. I can understand how you feel, right? So you want to be empathetic. You also want to remind them of the cost of not doing something or making a change or taking an action, and then also remind them of what they're going to get when they do. What are they going to get when they work with you, right? Really, really important. Couple of things I'd like to share. There's 2 examples of overcoming an objection that I really like. One was Bill Clinton, if you remember, when he was about to be impeached for the Monica Lewinsky incident way back when. And he actually got coached by Tony Robbins the day or a few days before on how am I going to handle this impeachment process, right? Because he was about to lose the office of the presidency. So he went into the negotiation or the impeachment process, and he sat in front of the committee, and he agreed. He got empathetic. He said, you're right. I've been unpresidential-like in my actions outside of the Oval Office, but I'm going to ask you not to judge me on that, but to judge me on my record as a president inside the Oval Office. So he took them away from, he got them to refocus, and that's what you got to do with your client. You've got to get them to refocus, right? So, and to focus on the actual thing at hand. And the actual thing at hand was his record as a president. And at that time in the U.S., the economy was booming, times were good, there was peace. The incidents of terrorism, that didn't even exist hardly at all back in the late 90s, 2000s, early 2000s. So, things were really good, and he did have a really good track record as a president. And he said, judge me on that. And for the Monica Lewinsky affair, I am deeply sorry. I know I've hurt a lot of people. So he was really empathetic. And felt, he expressed that, his sorrow and over the pain he caused many people, but he didn't get impeached because, how could they argue? His record as president was really phenomenal. I have another colleague I used to coach, and she was a young woman in the home staging business, and she was in her early 20s, and a lot of the real estate agents that she would call on thought, oh my, well, you're just too young, you have no experience, right? And so she would say, you're right, I am young, right? How can you can't argue with that. I am young, but here's what being young means. I have energy, enthusiasm, new ideas, creativity, and I work really hard for my clients. So if that's something you'd want in a home stager, then I'd love to do business with you. You see what happened there? So yeah, she agreed. She was empathetic, got into the client's world, right? And said, yeah, you're right. I am this, but here's what you're going to get. So that's the solution. This is what you're going to get from working with us. And if you want to work with somebody like that, then I'd love to work with you, right? So really good ways at overcoming objections, and also a little bit of negotiation in those two cases as well. So some of the keys to good negotiation. One is you got to set your objectives and have an agenda. So you always go into a situation, a negotiation situation ahead of time, knowing exactly what can I live with, what's my bottom line. And once I get it, bing, I'm done, right? So you have to have a negotiation strategy in place with your objectives for every aspect of the negotiation. It's really crucial, part of the planning for negotiations that can either make or break an effective negotiation. So by clearly defining your objectives, you'll be more focused and confident of achieving favorable terms at the end of your meeting. Number 2 step is pick the right environment. You want to be in a neutral environment, or one where you're not one side is pressured or out of sorts. You might recall maybe a job interview where you're just counting on meeting one person, and then there's a team of like 3 or 4, a committee. That's a little scary when there's like 3 or 4 people and just you. So you want to make sure that you've got agreement as to where you're going to do the negotiation. It should be neutral. It should be a place where you both feel comfortable, right? Also, you might maybe have the negotiating done at a third-party location. You've got to get the right psychological environment for both the buyer and the seller, and have a sense of neutrality. Okay, so really important. You don't want to, have negotiation in a hostile environment. You want to be in a relaxed atmosphere where you both can kind of be yourselves, right? Really important. Step 3, prepare an opening speech. It's like, the lawyers when they have their closing arguments. So your opening speech should demonstrate a clear understanding of the client's world, right? Remember what Bill Clinton said? Hey, or the home stager, I get this is where you're at, but here's what we're going to do, right? So make sure you have your opening speech and it talks about the client's world, what drives them, their need for change, their goals, and that you're going to, when they buy you and they buy your products or services, that you emphasize the value they're going to get from working with you and the level of service as well. Beware of your buyers and your own authority. Make sure you're negotiating with somebody who actually can make a buying decision. It's a lot of time can be wasted when you're dealing with an intermediary, especially like in a business context. You might be dealing with the admin person, and the admin person still has to go to the boss in order to get buy-in. You want to talk to the boss, if you can, without upsetting the the admin person, right? You don't want to leave them out of the equation, but you'd rather sort of talk to the decision maker, because you can waste a lot of time and energy. The other big thing is step 5 is be prepared to walk away. It's okay. Like, a lost sale, not the end of the world. If it's a bad deal, it's a bad deal. Don't take it. If it compromises you in any way, financially, personally, ethically, or with your reputation, you might have to walk away, right? Or you might have to sleep on it and think about it. Sometimes that's not a bad idea, is to just say, you know what, let me get back to you tomorrow. I've got to think about this. I got to talk to my partner, my associate, whatever, right? Yeah, have that fake imaginary person that you got to talk to. The other thing in any negotiation is your needs have to be met. Don't give it away or compromise your success, professionalism, ever, okay? Unless it's like you can live with it. So remember, know what you can live with. Know when you got to walk away. The other thing too is know your prospect. Listen to them. They leave clues. Listen to what they say. Sometimes you'll hear people, well, me, I drive a hard bargain, or yeah, they'll tell you kind of who they are. You know, what's that old saying? When people show you who they are, believe them. You know, it's true. So just listen to their language. You know, listen to, some people like, there's four personality styles. So there's the sanguine, or the sort of the peaceful kind of person. There's the doer, which is, yeah, let's go. There's the detail person, like the accountant in the office, or the scientist, and then there's the boss, right? And they all have various personality styles. And one way to understand their personalities and what matters to them is just listen to their outgoing voicemail. So somebody who's more maybe in an admin role might say, in a company might say, I'm sorry, I'm not able to take your call. They're sorry. They value family relationships. They're tough to make it. It's tough to work with them in a sales situation because they don't want to upset anybody. They don't want to say no. They have a hard time saying no, and and upsetting anyone. They want to keep the peace, right? So listen to that. That's a clue. Their outgoing voicemail. If they say, "I'm sorry, I'm not able to take your call," someone maybe in the accounting department or the operations or the science and R&D department, they might say, leave a detailed message. So they want the details. So in the negotiation, you might have to, and in your sales process, you might have to give them the details. And then the outgoing person, usually sales marketing. Sorry, I hate to you know, paint everybody with that kind of brush, but usually they're in sales and marketing, and their outgoing message might be, "Hey, it's a great day. I'm out golfing. Leave a message. I'll get back to you soon." Right? They're usually in sales and marketing. They want to know. They want to have a good time. They want you to show them how they can be popular and have a good time with what it is you're selling. So if you can reinforce that message. And then, the boss of a company might say, "I'm not here to take your call. Please press 0 and ask for my assistant." Right? Well, they're actually probably the best group of people to deal with in a sales situation. Why? Because you're not wasting time. Just give it to them. Give them the numbers, give them the quote, reinforce the value, and just leave it with them. They'll make a decision pretty fast. They don't want to get all fancy schmancy with you or have a big relationship. They just want, give them the stuff, and here's what we're going to do. Here's what you're going to get. Here's the value. Here's how it's going to work. Just be clean and clear and wait and for their response. So they're probably the best people to work with because they do make a decision, and they do make it pretty quickly. So listen to what your prospects are going to say. Listen to their outgoing voicemail. It'll give you an indication as to their personality style as well. Okay? So that's really important. That's a little bit on negotiation. Hopefully that helps you. Plan for it. Plan for negotiation. Plan for overcoming objections. And then, then you got to finally, you do have to ask for the sale. You want to see, like, so do you want to work with us? When do you want us to start, right? So I'm going to just show a little video here. Hopefully this will work. Here we go.
Anytime you want to do something, and asking for what you want is often a big thing, you've got to be willing to be a little terrified. You don't have to give into the fear, but you have to be willing to feel it. Think of the things you'd like to do. Ask your boss for a raise, leave the job you hate, turn a work acquaintance into a friend, or ask some friends to take a look at your new business opportunity. Now, instead of saying, "I'm afraid to do one of these things," figure out how you're scaring yourself. Make a statement that recognizes that feeling. Your statement will be something such as, "I want to ask my boss for a raise, and I scare myself by imagining he'll say no or get mad at me for asking." Here's another example. "I want to show my friends my new business opportunity, and I scare myself by imagining that they'll think I'm only after their money." You see how it works? Acknowledge that you are creating your fear, and you'll start to triumph over it.
Well, that's a video by Jack Canfield. He talks about the importance of asking for things, the sale, money, help, whatever. And as he alluded to, sometimes we scare ourselves by asking. It's our own fear at play, worrying about what others are going to think. And sometimes you just got to ask, irregardless of what others think. Really, it doesn't matter what they think of you. What matters is what you think of you. And if you believe in yourself and you believe in what you're doing, then ask away. You know, the worst they'll say is what? No. So ask for the sale. Always be asking questions throughout the sales process. The more information you know, the better you are able to serve your customer and connect to what really matters to them. So it's really, really important that you do that. So don't get freaked out by asking for the sale. A lot of people have a hard time asking because it means I got to ask for money, and that's a bad thing, and it's not a bad thing. What's worse is, being broke, believe me. And I remember there was a book out a few years ago, oh boy, a long time ago now, probably 20 years ago, and it was, called God Wants You to Be Rich. And, it's true. God wants you to be rich. Better to have money to use it wisely and build on it than not to have. So here are a few closes to consider. You could do a trial close. Choose a trial close, which is, why don't you try it? Try us out before you really commit. Try a sample or try it. Then there's the direct close. I like that. I'm more direct, and that's just simply asking, when would you like us to start? Or how many cases would you want? Or, when can we begin, work on your construction project? Just ask for the business. Yeah. Or the pressure close. I'm not a big fan of this one. You probably won't be either. And that is, well, if you don't order by, Friday, the price goes up. I don't know. I don't like that. The negotiated close. Well, we just negotiated, right? So, hey, we can, you negotiated from left to right. It's sort of like, okay, so if we can give you that price, or if we can give it to you at that, then, do we have your commitment, right? So make sure you do that. And then there's the alternative close. Well, if you can't afford it at that price, we can show you option B, right? So that's option B. Maybe it's at a little less price, or maybe you've got terms or conditions or something, an alternative choice to get your client to take an action. Then there's the assumptive close, where you just assume, okay, so, you'd like us to start when? That kind of thing. A rebound close, where you take an objection and you turn it into around into a closing question. So we just kind of stated that. That's like, so if I could do it at that price, would you do business with us, right? One thing that's really important when you're handling objections, especially in the rebound close, is to also ask this key question. So let's say price was an issue for your client, and they say, okay, well, I need it at this price. And you say, in a rebound close situation, you say, if I could do it at that price, would you do business with us? And they'll say, yes, we would. What you want to say after in any handling any objection, the other question you have to ask, once you handled one objection, is this. Once you've handled an objection, so you've agreed on a price, is there anything else that's holding you back from making a buying decision? If it's no, then good. Sign the deal, give it to them at that price, give it to them at that, on those, conditions of the sale. But make sure at the end of any objection, when you've handled an objection, ask this question. Okay, so we're agreed on price. Is there anything else holding you back from making a buying decision? You want to make sure that the client is totally clear, there's nothing else in the way of making a buying decision, and then they're ready to go, and you're good to go. What might happen is they might have buyer's remorse a few days after and cancel the sale. So I'm just saying, just make sure you ask that question when you're handling objections. Once you've handled one, make sure, is there anything else holding you back? Okay, are we totally good? All right, you're doing well today. So make sure you choose the closing techniques you like. What would work best with your style? your business and your, your selling style. For me, I mentioned the direct close. I don't know. I don't have time to waste. I want to know, do you want to do business or no? It's like, if not, where did we go wrong? Let's look at this again. So really, really important to do that. Okay. So once you sign the deal and you got the client, it's really important to nurture the relationship, right? So really important to nurture the relationship. Make sure you ask good questions. Make sure you're building trust. Make sure you're listening to the key. That's probably the most valuable skill of you as a salesperson or business owner, is listening and asking questions. Because knowledge really is power. I like this quote by Peter Drucker. It says, "My greatest strength as a consultant is to be ignorant and ask a few questions." Really, really quite important. Let me just show you another video. Hopefully it'll work. This is a great website, by the way. This is a website called Selling Power and .com, and they've got articles and webinars. Here's a webinar they're doing on how to have better business conversations, right? And this is I subscribe to this their videos. Here's SPTV. They've got all kinds of resources, white paper reports, events going on, webinars, events, all kinds of videos. It's a magazine. It's a sales magazine, and I get their videos in my email box every day. So here's a video on building trust and relationships. It's 2 minutes and 41 seconds.
Hi, my name is Garrett Schwartman, and welcome to Selling Power Standard Report. And today we continue our conversation with Waldo, the wingman, former fighter pilot. Waldo, I've once heard a definition about trust that I found curious, which is the ability to put yourself into a position of vulnerability. What do you think about that?
I think being vulnerable shows that you're a human being and that you're open to growth. And when people see that in you, they can trust you enough to bring you their problems because you are going to allow and share your problems with them and realize that you're not perfect.
How did you establish trust with your wingman?
I truly believe that to be a team player, you have to work first and foremost on building trust in yourself, to do your part, to fly your jet, flip the switches, study, practice, prepare behind the scenes, and then and only then can you work in formation and communicate and do this coordinated symphony of maneuvers to accomplish that overall mission.
So if you do make a mistake and acknowledge it, then trust is still alive.
Without a doubt. Integrity, which is by far is one of the foundations of trust, not only means being honest, it means admitting when you may have made a mistake. Maybe you were dishonest, you did something wrong. And when you admit what I call, or what we call as fighter pilots, expose your chest to daggers. A flight leader, especially that sales VP or the commander out front, when he or she exposes their chest to daggers and says, I messed up, this is where I went wrong, you're going to allow others to share their problems with you. And that's the job of a leader, especially in sales, to allow your women to bring in their problems so you can help solve them.
So is trust something that can be acquired forever?
When you look at trust, in particular in a sales environment, like I said, when you're building that trust with a customer, there's a lot of commoditization. If you're selling software, manufactured goods, the thing that separates you from your competition is that trust, that focus that you have on the customer all the time. And when you make a mistake, a lot of these customers will come back more passionate, more loyal to you when you fix the problem, admit it, and move on.
And that's really what I like about your fighter pilot analogy, which is total focus. In this case, it's total focus on integrity. Waldo, you've been terrific. Thank you so much.
You're very welcome.
All right, really important to build trust, being integrity, and really focus on all you can do to build relationships. And a couple ways to build relationships. Take your client to lunch once in a while or have a coffee. Just sit down with them and get to know them on a deeper personal level. Find out, about their family and and what they're into, their hobbies, their interests. If they're into a charity, maybe, volunteer for one of their charity events. I like booking planning sessions with my clients annually. I usually do that starting end of November, December, and I book for January, February. Why? Because January, February, it's usually, the start of the year. It's a little quieter. We're just after that Christmas break. We're dusting off. And it's a good time of year just to sit down with your clients and just say, hey, where are you going this year and how are we going to help you? And book an annual discovery session. We talked about the discovery session. Book one annually. Also, really ask your clients, too, if it's cool to have them on your newsletter, blog, marketing list, add them on LinkedIn, Facebook, that kind of thing, so that you're in touch with them that way, too, electronically. Also ask them how much is too much. How much communication do they want from you? Invite your clients to events. If you belong to the Board of Trade, the Toronto Board of Trade, or Chamber of Commerce in and around the area, there's many chambers of commerce in various markets outside of Toronto proper. And, maybe you're having a business event or there's a cool networking group you're involved with. Invite your clients. Also share customers and leads and ideas with them, so they feel like, wow, you're really, you're doing as much as you can. You're on my side. You want to kind of position yourself as that trusted advisor, that someone that your clients can come to with ease, right? That it's not hard to work with you, and that you've got their best interests at heart. And ideally, you want them to have your best interests at heart. That's a good, symbiotic relationship, right? And always showcase your knowledge, your expertise, share success stories, share ideas. Really be a cause for your client's success. What's that, forget who it was that said that, if you're helping others and you're helping them get results, then you're going to benefit from that tenfold, right? The other reason you want to focus on building relationships is that it costs more than 5 times as much to get a new customer as it does to keeping an existing customer. So that in itself should really help you understand the value of building relationships with your customers and turning them into repeat buyers and spokespeople for your company. So relationship selling, it's really about building a friendship or relationship with your customers. It's knowing their needs. It's overcoming their fears. Your clients put so much trust in you. You can have this as a situation. Your client could say, if I can't make this project work within my budget, my boss will probably replace me. That's what could be at stake when your customers are making buying decisions on behalf of their company. Or if they're buying a house, personal that is. The house has to fit their lifestyle, their budget, their family, right? Making a wrong move, a wrong buying decision can really impact you so greatly. So your relationship is supersedes any transaction. So really important to work on the relationship. Part of relationship selling involves maintaining regular contact. Just connecting with your client once in a while, make sure they're okay. They might not be the best client all the time, but you know what? Just stay in touch with them. They have contacts, leads. They could give you referrals, right? Really, really good idea to do that. So make sure that you plan it, that you nurture the relationships with people, with various ways to do that, taking them for lunch, sending a thank you card, sending a birthday card, giving them a call, volunteering with their charities, inviting them to events. Make sure you have some tactics planned to nurture the relationship. I remember going into a tire store a few years ago to get my tires replaced. And I picked up the tire I wanted at the price I wanted, so that was good. And I came back at the end of the day. I was working down the street all day, and I came back. I picked up my car. I paid for the tires, and off I went. But that tire store made a really drastic mistake. They were counting on me coming back, and they didn't ask for my information. They didn't say, hey, would it be okay if we put you on our mailing list? Because, for your safety, and we're really concerned about your safety and your well-being, you should have your tires looked at once a year, a balancing, a rotation, and an alignment. And not only that, in 3 years when you need to replace your tires, we'd love you to come back and we'll tell you when a special is on. Wouldn't that have been nice? They missed I'd say they missed $1,000 in repeat business over that time. 400 roughly, right, for the new set of tires, and probably about $600 in alignments and rotations and balancing. So, there's money right out the door. Now they hope that the service was so good that I'd come back. And you know what? It was okay. Wasn't the best, wasn't the worst, but it wasn't compelling enough for me to come back. This is one of my business colleagues, one of my favorite guys that I got to meet and interview on my radio show that I did for several years. And his name is Jim Fannin. He's a success coach out of Illinois in the States. And he wrote a book called Score for Life. You see it there in the background. Jim Fannin. Good book. I recommend that. And he has this 90-second rule he talks about. I think he even has a video about it on his website. And that is if you really want to enhance relationships, especially with those really close to you, give them your undivided attention for 90 seconds. The minute they walk in the room, just be with them. Hear their voice, hear their tone of inflection. Just focus all your attention and your empathy and your eyes and your attention on that person for the first 90 seconds. Act sad if they're sad. Show empathy. Just be with them. That can greatly improve your personal relationships. That 90 seconds. So, when they say it's quality, not quantity, they're right. So investing those first 90 seconds in someone says, I love you, I care about you, I value you, and I need you in my life. How's that towards enhancing relationships? Try it. Try it tonight with somebody, you really care about, your significant other, your child, whatever. Just be with them for that first 90 seconds. Too often we're so distracted. We're texting, the phone's ringing, we're doing email, or we're here, we're there, we're everywhere. Just be with somebody for that first 90 seconds and see what happens. So the bottom line in your business is you got to do the work, right? You have to do your best. You got to ask your clients for feedback. You got to be open to criticism. You got to make sure that you stay close to the client. As you build relationships, your clients are your best source for referrals. So ask them for referrals. Ask them for more business. Ask them to come back more often. There's a little reason why you want to do those three things. Let's say this is your business. See this chart? So let's say you've got 10 customers. They buy once a year, and they buy $100 from you every time they see you. Maybe it's a new pair of shoes, right? So if you have 10 customers that come in once a year for a new pair of shoes, at $100, that's a total of $1,000 in revenue for your business every year. But if you just increased it by 10%, if you asked every customer for a referral, and only 10%, you got a 10% increase, that means you have 11 customers. And let's say you ask them to come back more often, right? And they came in 1.1 times more, which is 10%. But then you say, hey, would you like fries with that? Would you like that? Or would you like shoe polish with the shoes? And so you increased your average sale, by 10%, which is $110. The total is $1,331. You've just increased your sales by 30% by doing these three things. Ask for referrals, ask for more business, ask them to come back more often. Really important, right? Really important. So, what did you learn today? Can you think of 3 things you learned today that you're going to take with you tomorrow and beyond? What are 3 key steps you're going to take in order to improve your selling skills? So my request of you is, and since this is our last course together, is that you really do become a sales professional. Read books on selling, get a mentor, somebody to help you and guide you along with selling if you're a little not sure or not 100% sure about selling. And always, if you see a sales training seminar, wherever you go, always take the sales training seminar. It's 2 things you can't have enough of in life. One is white shirt or white blouse for work, and the other is sales training. All right. I'm pushing it, but I'm not really. We're done. If you have questions, email me at thecoach@smallbusinessbigideas.com. There we go. There's my website. That's my number. I want to thank you for being here over the past 6 weeks. It's been a joy, and I hope you learned a lot from this program, really, because it's been just a treat to work with you all and have you be part of the class. So thank you so much. Have a great rest of the day, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye for now.